All right, grand rising, grand arrival, grand return. Peace and blessings to the righteous and the repentant alike. I am Chief Sophia of the AmaruKhan Band of Indians, and this is our Cancer Dark Moon presentation. This is a presentation I am going to make fully public, but if you are interested in the discussions that we'll have relating to these lunations on, a private scale, please look in the description below this video and join our AmaruKhan Lunar Working Group. That's where we'll discuss these lunations in personal detail. We have been on hiatus because I needed to reset my understanding of this and make sure I had it right and all that kind of stuff. And so now we are gearing back up. And as I have previously mentioned, and you can look in the Daylight Astrology playlist, which I'm going to also put in the description, for more information on how we interpret the astrology. And the point I want to make here is that we are looking from full moon to full moon. We don't look at dark moon to dark moon. However, we do consider what goes on from dark moon to dark moon. So we will talk about that. But as it relates to the overall cycle, this is the halfway point between our Cancer full moon in 2024 and our Cancer full moon in this year. And so between 2025 and 2026. So if any of that doesn't make sense to you, please go over to the Daylight Astrology playlist so you can get a better understanding of that cycle. I'm not going to delineate that here. It's really important that you understand how I describe astrology if you're going to be watching my astrology videos. I don't talk about it the way other people talk about it. I don't have the same worldview. I'm not going in the same direction as many of the other people who do astrology because I'm looking at it from a cycle that is a binding cycle that goes from opposition of two planets to opposition of two planets or placements, where each placement is in its full power. I'm not looking to diminish the power of the masculine or the feminine. I'm looking to raise the vibration of each individual into their own full power. And that is it, and then to bind that energy to them, not to be going backwards and trying to take people's power away from them and diminish their placement. Other astrologers, they do astrology like that. I'm not an astrologer and I don't do astrology like that. So I had to get that out the way. So because we look at whole cycles in this presentation, and of course, if you are in the AmaruKhan Lunar Working Group, this PDF will be uploaded to the group so that you can, print it out if you need it, whatever the case may be. Now, mind you, wait a minute, let me go back. The Cancer Dark Moon does not actually happen until the end of June. So you may be wondering why right after the Gemini new moon, we're already talking about the Cancer new moon. And that is because the cycle starts the day after the the Gemini new moon ended. That's the start of this Cancer dark moon cycle. It goes from darkness to darkness. Whenever you're looking at cycles, it's either going to go from light to light or dark to dark. You can't start a cycle like this is what most people do. They start looking at the Cancer dark moon right after the full moon during that cycle. You can't look at cycles like that. That is completely, to me, that is unhinged. And it's very confusing. Let me put it that way. It's extremely confusing to start looking at the Cancer dark moon right after the Sagittarius full moon. I just don't understand. It's like you're looking at the calendar time, but you're not looking at the way the energy cycles actually through. And again, a lot of people don't know it. They describe the energy appropriately because they're channeling. And the channel energy is going to be correct, but then they're taking that channel energy and apply it to their own concepts. We don't do that over here. We're looking at the energy the way that it works, and we're applying it to the concepts in which it works. This is totally revolutionary in astrology. Nobody does astrology like this. And I have to say that because there are people who will see this and come to my page and expect me to be the kind of astrologer who was trained by another astrologer. I was not trained by another astrologer. I observed the energy and I took notes. I'm a scientist, okay? And this is what I came up with based on my observations. Everybody else do it however they're going to do it. Now, like I said, other astrologers aren't wrong because they're channeling energy. We are channels, conduits of energy, and they're channeling the correct energy, but I'm just saying let's put it in the right context because these things should be replicatable and repeatable. And in the ancient world, they were replicatable and repeatable because people understood the way the cycles work. What the additional piece, like I said, we're adding to this is that we are also going to lock it in. We're not going to allow ourselves, our energy to be harvested on the inside or the outside. So that's what this going from full moon to dark moon to full moon is going to allow us to lock in that energy. Okay, so this cycle did not start in 2023. This is old. This started in 2024 with the Cancer full moon, which was July the 5th, 2024. There we go. At 14 degrees of Cancer, and we will discuss this when we talk about the roots of the tree. So this cycle started with the Cancer. Wait, the Cancer new moon. Actually, this started with the Cancer full moon. Maybe it wasn't 20. Oh, yeah, it was. Okay, that's why it's still on here. December the 26th of 2023, we had a Cancer full moon. That's where this energy is coming from, way back then. We didn't have a Cancer lunation full moon in 2024. Is that correct? Yes, we didn't have a Cancer full moon in 2024. So now we're in 2025, and so we had two midpoints is what I'm saying. We had, it's almost like a square, or the cardinal points. So July the 5th, we had a Cancer dark moon, and then now we're getting ready to have another one on June the 25th. That's when our Cancer dark moon is, and this cycle will culminate with our Cancer full moon. Oh, we did have a Cancer full moon in this year. We had a Cancer full moon in this year in January. So this is our midpoint from our January Cancer full moon. I'm sorry, because the full moon started in the cycle. Okay, so let me go back. This cycle not started, but we're looking, the cycle before this cycle was a cycle that went from the 26th of December in 2023 with a midpoint on July the 5th of 2024, and that cycle ended on January the 13th, 2025. That also started our next cycle. On January the 13th of 2025, this is the midpoint of June the 25th, 2025, and this cycle will end in 2026 on the 3rd of January with a full moon at 13 degrees of Cancer. So as you can see, we had 23. This one's going to be at 4. Now we have 13. Eventually we'll get into, I think those numbers are significant. When I was tracking them before, I saw a lot of stuff, but I just don't want to be stressing. This is enough to figure out right now. So this is the check-in point, the midpoint for us to anchor in the energy from the beginning of this cycle, which was the 13th of January, and then to close this cycle, which is going to be the 3rd of January. I hope you guys understand. This is the midpoint. So when I say it like that, that's because we should see energy that started with the beginning of this cycle, which is January the 13th, at 23 degrees of Cancer. We should be anchoring that energy in here to this low point, this midpoint, which is the Cancer dark moon, and then we should see this cycle complete when we get to our next Cancer full moon, which is going to be at 13 degrees of Cancer on the 3rd of January in 2026. I hope that makes sense. It's just, to me, it's a little bit complicated. Like I said, I'm not an astrologer, and this is not written down in no books, so I can't point you to a reference material, okay? All right, so this is standard for all of our activations. With the dark moon, that's a receiving moon. So you want to receive experiences in the whole sign house theme. This is your personal sign. Where is Cancer in your charts? This is the Cancer story in your chart, okay? Understand what I'm saying? This is the Cancer story in your chart. We're not talking about everybody. We're not talking about the world, America. This is your chart, okay? This is a story that's being played out. So you have to look at your chart and see where your Cancer is. Now, if you don't have your chart, you don't know anything about that, you can, of course, go online, get you a free chart. If you need explanations or you would like to have a reading or something by me, you can send me an email, and my information is in the description box. I do all kinds of readings. So, but just understand that this is based on what whole sign slice of your chart has your Cancer, okay? Another recommendation I'll make right now within this is if you have like a stellium in your chart, where a stellium is basically where you have 3 or more planets in one house, I would recommend listening to the astrology profile for that particular house as well. So for example, I have a first house stellium, so I listen to Scorpio, I also listen to Virgo, and I listen to Aries, because Aries, what I'm finding out is because I have a stellium in that house, it is the most accurate for me, as opposed to even the sign that house is in. So the houses and what they mean are very, very important. So you want to get your chart, and you want to, be looking into all the placements in your chart. Okay, so on a full moon, that's when we release, right? And you release blockages related to your whole house theme. So when a dark moon comes, that's when you are bringing in, like you're bringing it inside of you. And when the full moon comes, that's when you're releasing any blockages to the mission that you have related to where your what house we're talking about. So if your Cancer is in your first house, then at the start of the cycle with the full moon, that is when you are releasing any blockages to accomplishing the mission of your first house Cancer. And when you get to the dark moon, like we're here, this is where you receive. This is where you receive whatever insight, whatever help, whatever stuff. This is where you pull it in. And then when you get to the next full moon, full placement, that's when you're releasing any blockages to what you're trying to accomplish. And it's really important to understand that cycle of first you remove the blockages, then you receive whatever it is, and then you go back to removing any blockages. It's a constant, consistent cycle of give and receive, to receive something and to remove something, okay? It's a constant cycle. All right, so here's the different house themes. This is just a chart with the colors, the hours. If you're interested in any of that stuff, I'm not going to go through this. We have gone through this many, many times. But this is just an overall. This is also helpful. So, for example, if you have Cancer in your first house, that means you want to, based on this theme, which is receives experiences to, you want to receive experiences to swift action, raw energy, beginnings, influence, leadership, enthusiasm, strength. That's what you want to be receiving. So that's what you should notice coming in. And as we go along, it's pretty formulaic how this energy flows. It's not, again, this stuff is not rocket science. People just make it more difficult. So let's read about Cancer. And so these are the angels of Jupiter, which is the constellations. This information is taken from the book by Franz Bardon. I think it's called Spirit Intelligences, or Invocation to Ceremonial Magic or something. I need to put the citation here. You can go buy his book. I also have a worksheet book where I have all the different angels and their descriptions. That book is in the process of being updated. So just hold on. But in the meantime, I do have free PDF worksheets. If you need anything like that, just send me an email and I'll send you the link. And it has all the, because I don't recommend buying Bardon's book. Why? Because Bardon took all the information he had from someone else and he never credits that person, and there's no way he got this information by himself. Not possible. And I think he actually took this information from Pascal Beverly Randolph, because we do know that PBR was in Germany. He spoke German and wrote German. So I do believe he took it from him. I can't prove that, but that's my theory. And so Pascal Beverly Randolph, if you don't know, is one of our people. He was a master magician. Blavatsky and her crew targeted him so much so that they actually convinced him to commit suicide at the tender age of 49. Much like Adam, he didn't make it to Jubilee. It's very, very disturbing, his story. And so I don't like thieves and I don't like liars. And so we treat them with as much respect as they treated the people from whom they took the information and then sold it. Anyway, so let's read about, have to throw some of this stuff in here since it's a public video. So let's talk about Cancer. And the spirit intelligence for Cancer is Mergel. Okay, so I have another video that talks about the hierarchy. I'll link it in this video because I don't want to go into all of that detail, but just understand that the hierarchy of angels is related to the zodiac. It's not confined. It's related, okay? And so Jupiter is, the archangel over Jupiter is Zadkiel or Zedekiel in the Book of Remembrances. They also call her Geira, but she is the one who is specifically responsible for this realm, the earth realm. And so her team are the spirit intelligences, which are the constellations that help to set the tone and the pace for this earth realm and help to guide the energy and make sure that the job is getting done. It's a very difficult job she has as an archangel, and this is her team, okay? They work together. So this is not, none of these things are conflicting. None of the energies in the universe are conflicting. You're conflicted. Isn't that I remember I was conflicted. Like that's what it is. You're conflicted, okay? Not the energies. All right, so Mergel is related to Cancer, and the fourth genius of the Jupiter sphere has to control and keep in equilibrium the total magnetic fluid in the cosmic hierarchy. Magnetic fluid, if you don't know, is related to your ability to use lunar energy to get things done, which is basically emotional energy. Electric fluid is your physical body. It's heat, fire. Magnetic fluid is water, which is controlled by the moon, okay? He is responsible for the fluid state on all planets and also for the element of water in the whole cosmic hierarchy, including our world in its physical, astral, and mental state. The spiritualite can be fully instructed by this original genius in the original element of water, its workings and effects regarding the whole cosmic lawfulness and in respect to magic and Kabbalah, and furthermore, in the way by which, under the influence of the magnetic fluid, certain occult facilities can be wakened and developed in the mental body. For instance, transcendental seeing in all spheres and on all planets. The original genius can teach the spiritualite many other things. The sphere magician, who has perfect command over the magnetic fluid, can work miracles by its help. Miracles which the non-initiate would never be able to imagine. So this is the ability to convince somebody to do something. This is being able to, a lot of these preachers, they use this energy because they can get people emotionally riled up. They can get people basically into a state in which different demonic entities enter people, and people begin to speak with the tongues of those entities. Speaking in tongues in itself is not bad. It's just understanding what entities you're speaking for. The church, especially the black church, misuses this information all the time, and they have people speaking in tongues, but the people don't understand that they've actually embodied a demonic spirit. Most of these are demonic. They've embodied a demonic spirit, and they are speaking the tongue of the demonic spirit. A lot of black churches have video recordings of the speaking in tongues. They take that to their magicians, and they transmute it. So basically they use the church as an antenna for the demonic spirits to get messages to people. Because you have to be a pure vessel in order to embody one of these spirits. And so if you're a pure vessel, but you also don't have any protection up, you can literally embody one of these spirits, start speaking in tongues. You're communicating a message to some kind of weird whatever guy that's hanging in the background waiting for an answer for something that he asked a demon to do. The demon cannot speak directly to the person because the person is not pure, and therefore they speak through you. A lot of people. So again, it's not bad to be able to do this, but you got to understand what's going on. And there's many examples of this in the Bible. Okay, I'm not going to beleaguer this too much, except to say there's many examples of this in the Bible. For example, when Elijah called down the Holy Spirit to ignite the sacrifice, he was the purest vessel there. And what happened was that demon, Baal, actually jumped into Elijah, right? And he killed all of his prophets, all of his priests. Why? Because none of the priests were pure enough to embody the body of Baal. And he was pissed. So he killed all of them. And that's why when Elijah came to himself, he went on a fast, because he wasn't supposed to do that. That was never part of the plan. The plan was he called down the Holy Spirit. He was supposed to let the Holy Spirit burn that thing up and show that the Creator is one, our God is one, and that was supposed to be the end of the story. But that's not what happened. What happened was, it was like the shock was so immense, and basically Baal was like, I'm getting into whoever I can get into because these people have disrespected my name. That's what happened. They those prophets of Baal disrespected the name of Baal. He could have done what the Holy Spirit did if he could get into somebody's body, but he couldn't because they were all impure. This also happens outside of the thing. If you wonder why they use children for sacrifices and different things, children are pure vessels. And so if a magician needs to get a message from a particular demonic entity, he will use a child, put a child into a position where that demonic entity can a dissociative physical state, so that that demon can enter that child and give the message. And that's basically what you have over and over again. And that's why they like kids, because they're pure vessels. So hopefully you understand in general how that works. I think I went into too much detail. All right. All right. So this is just a brief promo break. We do have a Cancer New Moon bundle, but this is going to be our Cancer bundle, period. Whenever you want to deal with Cancer energy, you can order this bundle from me, and it could be when we have the Cancer lunation every month. Specifically, I have it for the Cancer New Moon and the full moon, but it's going to be related to any, like if you, for example, if you have your first house in Cancer and you want to remedy that particular planet, you can order our Cancer bundle, and that will help you energetically deal with that. And I'll have instructions for use that's outside of the new and the full moons. But you'll receive instructions on how to use that. It will have to either deal with doing things on Monday. Mondays are related to Cancer, or the second day of the week, or the first day of the week, really, Um, hmm, let's just say it'll be related to the day of the moon or the hour of the moon or whatever. So that's when you have to get into more and more specific things. But the bundles are they're $50 with shipping included. They come with a blessed and dressed candle, oil, a body wash, a crystal, and also the moon lunar incense. So if you're interested in that, please send me an email. It's not up on my website at this time, but it will be. All right. So for every dark moon, our processes are the same. This is a post and store. Now, let me just talk about this. A lot of people do right burner releases, and I don't think that those are bad. However, we are very specific to time here. We don't ignore the timing of things. Yes, you want to do things when the spirit moves. Of course, I'm going to move when. I'm gonna sing when the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna sing when the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna sing when the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna sing till Jesus comes. Old slave, well, not slave, old spiritual song there. But you do want to do things when the spirit moves in your heart. So I don't get on anybody doing right burner releases. They're all very, very important. However, when you're channeling dark moon energy where we have unions, that's not something you want to burn, because then you're signaling to the universe, burn my union. No, dark moons are unions. Okay, so when we have dark moons, we do post and store, which is you post it up during the duration of the moon, and then you store it in your notes. And always keep notes on these things so you can see how they're working out for you. And we'll have a journal for these things coming soon. But typically, you could do this, write it out on an actual candle, but you could just write it out, period. I have a piece of a document which is for writing and posting that I just developed, that I use, and of course, if you join our AmaruKhan Lunar Working Group, that's where that document is. Okay, so you want to post and store the statement related to the house your Cancer falls in. Okay, and place the paper on your altar or wherever you can place it. You can put it in your Bible, or your sacred book, or whatever. Just post it somewhere. Okay. The reason why you have to post is because you have to give these entities notice. We are operating on a common law principles within the cosmic law, okay? You can't just like secretly do something and never, no. You have to give them notice. And you don't have to speak it out loud, because it's only certain entities you have to give notice to. And when you say things out loud, like when you speak them, you're giving notice to entities who may not supposed to get notice. When you write and post and consecrate and dedicate stuff, you are speaking directly to the creator. You have to give notice to the creator. This is not about the other entities. They should not be involved. That's why I seal my documents. Because I want them to go to the creator. I don't want them to go to every, Tom, Dick, and Harry in the spiritual streets. So this is why you don't have to always necessarily, writing and posting gets the job done. Now, the entities who are capable of comprehending the writing and the posting, that message for them. And the ones who aren't, the message not for them. It's not your responsibility to notify your enemy of your plans, of your battle plans. But you do need to talk to your general. Oh, this is my general. I need to tell him what my plan is. This is my manager. This is my boss. This is my creator. Let me tell him what I'm thinking, what I want to see happen. How else can it happen? So this is why we engage in common law principles within the cosmic hierarchy. I don't see other people doing that, okay? And so then on a white or silver candle, ask your angels to assist with what they specialize in. So the candle that comes in the bundle will be blessed and dressed. So you can write it on that candle, which is it's a mini candle because it just for the time of the lunation. Or you can buy a separate candle and write it on that candle, which I have all of the, again, templates and stuff that I use in the working group, okay? All right, so let's again go with the example of Cancer in the first house. So the angel over the first house is Malchadel. And so what would you want to ask for? You would say, I am, receives increased access to swift action, raw energy, beginnings, influence, leadership, enthusiasm, and strength. Okay? You would write that in red. And then if you want to get involved with the hour is Zamael. But the most important thing is a statement. And you also want to think the statement. You want to embody this statement. You're asking this energy, who's a big energy, to, or has a lot of stuff to do for something. We want to be as streamlined and specific as possible because we don't want, this is why I want to move away from people doing so much channeling. Is channeling bad? No, just like speaking in tongues is not bad. But these entities have a lot of stuff to do. If they have to stop what they're doing to deal with your problem or send out whoever to deal with your problem, that's other problems they can't deal with. We over here try to make everybody's job easy. This is why it's so important to streamline this. This is, again, I'm not saying that this is the only way to do it, but this is a very streamlined way to do it. That way you're not wasting time asking an angel who's not assigned to you at that time to do something that they can't even get to until their time period comes. And it's, again, this is not saying that they're bound to the time. It's just that's where they operate. Like if you need if you need food stamps, like you want to go to the food stamp department, you know what I mean? You don't go to the housing department asking them for food stamps because they're going to send you to the food stamp department. So if you need a new beginning, you don't want to go to, let's use a different one I was thinking. You don't want to go to the ninth house, which is Sagittarius, and ask Adushiel, hey, can you help me with a new beginning? Because Adushiel is related to religion, philosophy, study, travel. That's not the same as a new beginning like what you're asking for. You just want to ask the right person for the right thing. Make their life easy. It's difficult enough to be on this planet as a human. Imagine being off this planet as a spirit who has to try to figure out how to get humans. It's like herding cats. Humans are like cats. It's like literally, you can get a cat to do a job easier than you can get a human. So imagine all the work and energy and effort it takes to get certain things done. We just trying to make it easy for them, okay? So I hope that makes sense. And of course, if you're interested in the hours, here's a table I made of the planetary hours, okay? So let's take a look at the moon cycle. We have a Cancer full moon, we have a Cancer new moon, and we have another Cancer full moon. We are anchoring and binding the Cancer full moon energies from January 13th, utilizing our Cancer new moon that's happening on June the 25th, into our Cancer new full moon that's going to be happening on January the 3rd, 2026. I explained that at the beginning, but now we have the charts. So in this section, I'm just going to cover the sun and the moon placement. When we get back to doing videos for all the lunations, I will cover this more of the placements. But for simplicity's sake, I'm only covering the sun and the moon, okay? And if with the dark moon, since that's what this video is for, I cover a few more of the placements and a few more of the angels that's associated. Okay, so if you've seen any of my other videos, you understand what I mean, but I know hopefully there might be some new people. So what we have here is the whole sign house and also the whole sign house chart, and we have the Placidius chart. We use both. It depends on what's going on. Like, it may make a difference, it may not. For example, in this case, the moon is in the whole sign house of the first house, but it's also in the whole sign house of the first house in Placidius. So in this case, it doesn't make a difference. That means the seventh house is where the sun is going to be, and so it doesn't make a difference. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. That's why we look at both houses, okay? And so this is the chart for the full moon that happened on January the 13th. I'm not going to point out too much about this except to say that Pluto was in Aquarius at 1 degree, so we know it was active in Aquarius. We still have Neptune and Saturn in Pisces. But now, as for this lunation, they've both moved into Aries, so that's kind of important to notice. And also at the Cancer full moon, Jupiter was in retrograde. And so when Jupiter is in retrograde, that means it's closest to the planet, investigating if the abundance that it's been sending out to us has actually reached us. That's, to me, a retrograde planet is a planet that's it's working with us here on the ground. So imagine we have two planets in opposition where they're both in their full power, but you have Jupiter working with you close to the ground to make sure you have lined up all your ducks for your abundance, okay? That's all I want to point out here. All right, so this is the current chart. I will talk about this in a little bit more detail. This is for the dark moon that's happening on June the 25th. What you see here is you see the sun and the moon at the same degree and minutes. So it's 4 degrees, 7 minutes. Jupiter now, as you can see, is also in the mix. So it's almost like a triple conjunction. But look at the first one. As you can see, what Jupiter was in retrograde. So it was investigating with us to see what we need to do to set our abundance up. So by this lunation, it is actually here with us to see if what it was bringing in, what it was working on in the full moon is showing up now here in our dark moon, because this is when we receive. The full moons is when you remove blockages. So Jupiter was there with us when Cancer was in its full moon to remove blockages to our abundance with us. And now Jupiter is here with us to make sure we receive the abundance that it helped remove the blockages from the Cancer full moon. Now, as you can see in this chart, in the whole sign houses, this is all happening in the first house, right? But in the Placidius, this is happening in the 12th house. So what that tells me is that this is going to be happening. We don't have to do anything. This is not for us to do something. And I'm the worst person to say this because I'm always trying to do something, okay? This is not for something that we have to do. This is something that's going to be done for us because eventually we'll do a video on Placidius, but because this is in the 12th house is not something that you can do. It's what's right behind you. It's literally creeping up on you. And so this is not something for us to do, okay? Some other energies that are helping this is you have this basically an inconjunct between Jupiter, the sun, the moon, and Pluto. But now Pluto is in the retrograde position. An inconjunct is like a side eye, like it's an enforcer in this position. Pluto is the transformation. So Pluto is close to us, making sure the transformation happens. As opposed to before, it was in, kind of just out there, letting Jupiter do its thing. Now it's like, no, I'm here to make sure that this happens the way that it's supposed to. We also have this sextile between the sun and the moon and Jupiter with Mars. Now remember, Mars basically spent like 6 months in Cancer. So Mars was laying the foundation for this deep emotional change with its hugely long retrograde motion through Cancer. So now it is in a sextile energy, meaning all of that information that it implanted into Cancer and it learned from Cancer during this retrograde motion when it was close to Cancer, close to the mother, then it is now making sure that that energy is flowing in a flowing relationship, okay? We also have a trine between Mercury, which is at 28 degrees of Cancer, and the black moon, which is at 27 degrees of Cancer. The black moon is related to our inner emotions, like our inner, like Lilith, like the stuff that we have to do, like to come into our fullness of ourselves. And it's in a sextile, a trine, which is a flowing relationship with Mercury, and that's the knowledge. Now, mind you, Mercury is going into retrograde soon, and so and right now, Black Moon Lilith is in retrograde, so it's gathering that information from Scorpio and Black Moon Lilith, sending it back to Mercury. So when Mercury comes into retrograde in the fire, which I do believe is going to be in Leo, it will be able to make sure that these things are handled. Meaning, if you feel like you don't have an internal passion for whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing, Black Moon Lilith is relaying that internal passion to Mercury during this lunation, so that when Mercury comes into retrograde, it can let you know. So this, again, the planets are working together to help us. We're not bound by them. They're working together to help us. What we're trying to do is bind the energy to our story so it can't be stolen or harvested, right? And the last thing I'm going to talk about is Sedna. Sedna is at 1 degree of Gemini, and it is sextile with Saturn and Neptune, really, at 1 and 2 degrees of Aries. And Sedna is our subconscious. So our subconscious is in a flowing relationship with Saturn and Neptune. Neptune is our heart, but Neptune is also deception. Saturn is our structure, but Saturn is also the taskmaster. And so it's making sure that that relationship between Neptune and Saturn and Sedna, our literal subconscious mind, is on the up and up. Why do I say that? Because nothing's in retrograde. These things are flowing. So it's making sure that that energy is flowing the way that it's supposed to. Okay? So in this particular chart, we do have a stellium in Cancer. So Cancer energy is flooding the planet. Like, it's really, really powerful. And so if you're listening to astrology, you may want to listen to the Cancer reading, because 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the most accurate for this time period. I usually don't listen to Cancer. I'm going to go back and listen to Cancer. It is literally inundating the planet, because we've got the ascendant, we've got the part of fortune, we've got especially the first decan of Cancer. Also, if you have, if you have planets in your first house, especially like me, if you have a stellium in your first house, and a lot of the stellium planets are in your first decan, Cancer energy is also going to be affecting you more than your native energy and more than Aries energy. It is the predominant placement here. And Cancer energy is very, very emotional. And so you'll see with the spirit intelligences what is being done to sort of make sure that these things go the way that they're supposed to, okay? All right, so we're taking those 2 points, energetic points, the full moon in 2025, the dark moon that's coming up in a few days, and we're going to project that onto our full moon that's coming, and make sure that this story, this abundance story, is wrapped up. Abundance from lunar processes is wrapped up by the time we get to the full moon in 2026. So the only thing I'm going to say about this, and remember this happens on January the 3rd, is that this is a full moon. So you have is it the same? Yeah, this is the same houses. So you have the full moon, the sun in the 2nd house in Capricorn, and the moon in the 8th house in Cancer. And as you can see, the moon is still close to Jupiter. Why? This is a cycle that this is laying the foundation for the start of the next cycle. So what is Jupiter doing? Jupiter is right beside the moon, basically making sure that this energy that we're bringing in from the new moon, the dark moon that's about to happen, has actually anchored in, which is why Jupiter is again retrograde. I understand way more about the cycles talking about it like this in the way other people do. And the sun is basically in this triple conjunction with Venus, the sun, and Mars. And so that is also tying in, like we said here, Venus, where Venus is in Taurus and Mars is in Virgo. These are kind of almost, they're in a sign trine, okay? They're not an exact trine, but they're in a sign trine. They were just in a trine actually recently, but this is making sure that those 2 energies have also produced what they're supposed to produce. Venus in Taurus and Mars in Virgo. And you can see now it's making sure that is coming into this Capricorn point. Capricorn is another earth sign. So it's literally bringing that energy in and making sure that it's infused into this particular lunation. And the moon here is at 13 degrees 1 minute of Cancer, and the sun is at 13 degrees 1 minute. So that's all I'll say about this, because we'll, when the time comes, we'll do. Oh, I'll say one more thing. Is that the moon or is that Vesta? Now I won't say that because that's Vesta. So you guys can see how the cycle goes. All right, so these are the spirit intelligences, again from Bardon's book, that have to do with this dark moon lunation. So we have Pluto at 3 degrees of Aquarius, and that's Bade. And Bade is here to inspire man with the creative power of imagination. Is the object of this head of the zone girdling the earth. The spiritualite with too little imagination should address this intelligence, from whom he will get assistance in this respect. The methods Bade will entrust the spiritualite with will give the latter a marvelous faculty of imagination, and apart from this, he will learn how to think in a creative manner and how to transpose certain thoughts into the Akasha in order to realize the results he wants to see. Pluto is the first planet in the houses. That's why we use Placidius to see what planet happens first. This is the most important thing. If you're not dreaming big, if you don't have a big, gigantic, ginormous dream of what you're trying to accomplish right now, that's what you need to be working on. You need to be putting it down in writing. You need to be thinking about it. You need to be looking at it every time what it is that you want to accomplish in relation to what your Cancer house is. So I can't tell you what that is, but that's why you do that part first, to see what is my Cancer house. This guy, Bade, is here to make sure that dream is big enough. And if you don't have it, you can ask specifically, Bade, can you please help me have a bigger dream? What's some things that I can think about to get my juices flowing as it relates to whatever my Cancer house is? That's how you want to use this energy. This is how you use all the spirit intelligences. You ask them to assist you, okay? We don't worship them. We work with them. We're partners. We're partners, okay? We're not worshipers. We're partners. Other dark magicians, they worship these entities because they get into contracts with them. You're not supposed to do that. Okay, you just ask them for help. Like, do you offer them things in exchange? Yes. That's why we light the candle. That's why we burn the incense. That is our offering unto them. The candle, the incense, some water, especially water since this is Cancer. Those are kind of things that we offer. Those are, that's our offering. And so, do you supposed to worship? No, we didn't. No one said worship. We said offer. Okay. Just to be clear, if for some reason any Christians made it this far, all right. All right, we have Saturn at 1 degree of Aries, and that's Morek. And this intelligence is very active and impulsive. It is distinguished by an extremely strong wit. It is very learned and cannot only supply the spiritualite with facts and general knowledge, but it can, above all, make him acquainted with excellent methods and influence his memory in a favorable manner to increase his power of intuition. Apart from this, Morek may help the spiritualite with inventions of any kind in a decisive manner. He is ruler of the fire element, which can help, with the help of which he can bring about marvelous effects. So now this is, again, the whole idea of burning a candle. This is what this guy, he's a fire element because he's in Aries, and he can help you because Saturn is about practicality. He can take the imagination that Bade gives you and make it practical. How do you do this practically? How do you maintain this practically? How do you accomplish this practically? What's the practical part of that? And because this guy is active and impulsive, it will be something that you hadn't thought about. It could be something that seems a little bit crazy and out of proportion, but that's the kind of intelligence this guy is. Okay. All right, we have Sedna at 1 degree of Gemini, and this is Proxones. The spiritualite will be given exact information by this head on all questions dealing with the electric fluid and its relation to the mental, astral, and physical planes. Proxones is regarded as a master of electric fluid and therefore also a master of electricity. At the same time, he is a special guardian of inventions as far as these are concerned with the basics of electricity, he keeps them in the right equilibrium. All people dealing with inventions in the field of electricity are accordingly inspired by Proxones. He will tell the discreet spiritualite of inventions which will be made after many years or even after many centuries. Of course, the spiritualite is not allowed to publish these inventions, but he will hear from Proxones what periods of time it will take technicians to make progress in the field of electricity and can accumulate great knowledge in this respect. To me, this guy is actually going to bring us back our old energy. I feel like, as a person who discusses lots of, real world happenings on my channel, that what they're trying to do with the electricity is insane. There is tons and tons of free electricity. We don't have to build all these power plants. We don't have to pay for all of this stuff. And I feel like he is going to reveal within this time period, because this is the dark moon and he is here specifically to help with this nation. He is going to reveal to us how to get free energy. That's what I think he's going to do. They're doing too much. They're going too far. They're still trying to make money off of stuff that's supposed to be free. The creator gave us free energy, and we're going to have free energy. Not, we're going to have to pay a little tax. And no. It's going to be totally free. He's going to come and show us how to do it. And maybe it's not something that's going to be commercialized, but once one person learns how to do it, you just tell another person. That's why I'm saying don't publish it. Just tell your friends and your neighbors, this is how you're going to get free energy. Bing, bang, boom, 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 bop, bang. And you got it, okay? That's what I think that this guy is coming to do overall. But personally, this guy helps with different inventions, again, to make them practical. Like, bidet is, because that's Aquarius, that's an air that's kind of like out there. So we have an air energy that's tied into a fire energy that's taking the air energy and just making sure that it's a whole complete cycle. We have air, we have fire. We don't have any earth. So there's we have earth, but it's not, I didn't cover it here, okay? So we have the sun, the moon, the earth, which is called the part of fortune and descendant at 4 degrees of Cancer, and that's Halali. And this head is an excellent initiator into sympathy, mummial spiritualism. He can give information on how, with the help of the elements, the spiritualite practicing mummial spiritualism can bring about various effects. He can, apart from that, explain to the spiritualite the influence of electric and magnetic fluids on nature. Halali introduces the spiritualite into special working methods which have not been known to anyone up to now, which have to do with mummial spiritualism. Now, I tried to do a deep dive on what mummial spiritualism meant, and I will not talk about that publicly. But what I will say is people who are determined to reside on this planet for longer than what is commonly known to man at this time, this is the kind of guy that you want to work with. This is about preservation of our physical body and of our ideas, our philosophy, into long expansions of time, okay? And this guy does this using both electric and magnetic fluid. Now, we already have the magnetic fluid wrapped up with the spirit intelligence Mergel, which has to do with Cancer. This is now also wrapping it up into the electricity, which is the fire on the outside. So on the outside you can be reserved, and on the inside you can be reserved. And that's what I'll say about that. Now, let's look at the symbols. Now, some people use Sabian symbols, and that's fine. If you like Sabian symbols, use Sabian symbols. I like the Kosminski symbols better. I'm more in tune with Eurasian pantheons, and so these symbols are easier for me to explain, so this is what I want to use. All right, so Pluto is at 3 degrees of Aquarius, which is a white-haired man holding a cross before him, walking over a mosaic pavement. This denotes one of a truly religious mind whose career will be as full of incident as the many pieces which go to make a mosaic pavement are full of color. Material life is not without its dangers, moral and physical, but the native is not born under the heel of fear. He sees beyond his times and bears his cross. It is a symbol of faithfulness. So again, this has to do with imagination. Be faithful to who you are. Bring back that inner child spark of life. Stop trying to kill your inner child and make him grow up. No, get all the things that you wanted as a kid. People are, you can't do that. No. You want to get everything you ever wanted as a kid. If you have kids, give your kids what they want. You know, that's how you tap into this energy. Be as all the dreams you had as a child is dreams that you should be acting out now as an adult, because you were most pure as a child. We talked about this earlier in this presentation. So that means if you are ignoring that time that you were most pure, you are literally giving it up. And why anybody would do that, I don't know, but I don't recommend it, okay? All right, Saturn's at 1 degree of Aries, which is a ball of fire bursting across the rainbow. Again, with the fire, denotes one of strength, force, and daring. By nature, he is aggressive and martial, desiring to conquer at all costs. He is restless and impelling, taking many risks and enduring many hardships. This degree is a dangerous one, threatening mind and body, is a symbol of action. So again, telling you, because it's Saturn, it's telling you how to take action in a practical way, so it's going to work. Okay? Saturn is at 1 degree of Gemini, which is 2 iconic columns adorned with globes, a burst of flame issuing out of clouds behind. Denotes a double-natured, cultured, and gifted person who gains reputation through his acts. He has great mental energy and will, combined with an impetuosity, Lord, which directs good or evil results. His over-hastiness may lead him to mistakes, which incur displeasure and court danger. It is a symbol of animation. So again, making sure that you are doing this in a right way. What was Proxones? Oh, the electric experiment. So making sure that you're not just doing dangerous stuff just to be dangerous, but literally rewiring your subconscious mind to work in the way that's supposed to, instead of being all over the place. All right. The sun, moon, earth, and ascendant are at 4 degrees of Cancer, and that's a drunk reveler in a fancy costume, asleep at a table, the contents of his overturned cup of red wine pouring on the floor. Denotes a romantic but erratic nature who leads himself to esteem the follies of the world before wisdom. In his pursuit of happiness, he will find nothing but exhaustion and fatigue and emptiness. It is a symbol of misdirection. I am saying that this is probably true, because if you deal with the other ones that I mentioned, the Pluto, the Saturn, the Saturn, you can't go in the wrong direction. But if you pretend like, oh, I'm not supposed to be dreaming big right now, let me just stay on my path and get this good government job and, do everything the way somebody else told me to do. And, instead of, dreaming your biggest dream, grounding it in the Saturn energy and using the Saturn energy to rewire your brain to know that what you always wanted is what you should have. What you've always wanted is what you should have, okay? If you ignore that, then yeah, you're going to be misdirected. But if you put this into context with the rest of the symbols, you will be on the right path. You could be drunk as a skunk, but if you're doing what you're supposed to do, you won't be misdirected. I hope that makes sense, okay? All right, so let's go back. This is 2025? Okay. Let's look at what we're bringing in with us from the full moon, okay? So, and this was in January the 13th, we had the moon at 23 degrees of Cancer, and that's Duralisten. This spirit intelligence is a master and initiator of spirituality of space. The Spiritualite taught him what to become master of time and space, not only in our physical world and the zone girdling the earth, but in all the other spheres of the macrocosm. What it means to be a master of time and space in all spheres can only be comprehended by a real mature spiritualite. And so the symbol for this is fishermen pulling their nets in calm water. Denotes one whose business life is uncertain in his results, but who can calmly go on, contented to take whatever fate sends his way. He is gifted with mediumistic power, and his impressions enable him to make but few mistakes in his affairs. It is a symbol of peacefulness. So what we're bringing in from the full moon is this peacefulness and this knowing, this deep inner knowing that what we are doing is correct. And for me, this resonates very, very much. Okay? We had the sun, and remember, fishermen pulling their nets in calm water. Jesus went out to the shore and he told the brothers, come and follow me. And what happened? Oh, no, he had to pay taxes. I'm thinking about the one with taxes. He's like, oh, we have to pay the taxes. What happened? They pulled in the fish. The fish had gold in their mouths, to pay the taxes. This is the kind of thing we're talking about. That's supernatural, outside of time and space. Only the Creator, his son, his daughter, his wife can do that. We can do it too as children that have been grafted in. But for sure, that's the Creator to operate outside of time and space. All right, we have the sun at 23 degrees of Capricorn, and that's Lotifar. And it says this head has to carry out a difficult task in the zone girdling the earth. It is his job to prevent people from committing suicide by warning them through their inner voice and by diverting them if possible from their plans. By the help of his subordinates, he inspires people who are hopeless, who are in hopeless misery, distress, or disappointment with the fact that life is something holy and cannot be replaced with anything. Lotifar has saved millions of people from suicide by way of intuition, by having inspired them with a good idea or having created a situation which drove away their suicidal thoughts at the last moment. So the energy for this, or the symbolism for this, is a dog holding a bird in his mouth, running across a field of daisies. Denotes a far-seeing person with fine appreciation of poetry, the arts, and well-endowed mind, capable of delving deeply into obscure subjects. Should Mercury be afflicted in the horoscope, especially by Saturn, the native will incline to exercise his powers in the wrong direction and seek to restrain his advantage, the rights over others. It is a symbol of sagacity. So again, that's what came in. I couldn't believe this when I saw it. I'm like, literally, the angel that prevents people from taking themselves out was placed at the time of the full moon to make sure we got to this full moon energy where you have the whole misdirection and all these different energies that could come in and be confusing. You would still say, let me life is worth living, to remind you in every moment that life is worth living. Why would the Creator assign an angel whose sole purpose is to remind you that life is worth living to this realm at this time? Because the negatively polarized entities are trying to convince people to take themselves out. So to make sure that a great majority of people don't take themselves out, you have this spirit who is here to help convince people to keep going. And this was set up all the way back in January. Now, what's coming in the full moon in 2026, January the 3rd, you have the sun at 13 degrees of Capricorn, and that's Trisasha. And it says this spirit intelligence has many methods at its disposal to bring about a quick development of television, and teaches the spiritualite how to overcome time and space in a simple manner. And the Kosminski symbol for this is a sublime spirit of female form holding by the hand a poorly attired child coming from the darkness into the mist and ascending from the mist into the light. Denotes one who, without regard to worldly condition, will be aided and advanced to a super earth state by a great protective agency. And the more the mind is raised to glorious contemplation, the more closely will the heavenly cloak fall about his shoulders. It is a symbol of guardianship. If you are dreaming big, the biggest possible dream you can have, a literal female angel is going to come and walk you there and protect you. This reminds me of, I'm studying Zechariah right now, And this is what happened to Zechariah. He, in one of his visions, not to give away my thing, but just so you can read it, it's in Zechariah 3, 1 through 10. It's the vision of Joshua the high priest. One of the things that happens is that the Joshua goes before a great judge, okay? A judgment angel with Satan, who is there to testify against him. And before Satan can even open his rat ass mouth, the judgment angel is like, look at Joshua. Look at him. Why does he look like he's been in a fire? That's what this reminds me of. And the judgment angel would not even hear Satan. He said, put him in a clean robe, give him a proper crown, and let him go about his business. He rebuked Satan immediately once Joshua was in front of the judgment angel. So this is what this reminds me of. Literally, the angel brought Joshua up and was like, before Satan could even speak, the judgment angel was like, hold up. That's what this reminds me of. So guardianship, okay? The moon is going to be at 13 degrees of Cancer, and that's the million. And any spiritualite dealing with invisible beings and intelligences, and also acquainted with the science of the Kabbalah, will sometimes have made the experience that it may be very difficult to reproduce intellectually the language of the beings and the cosmic language. Namilion can assist the spiritualite in this respect by making him acquainted with the methods by which he may acquire the faculty of finding at any time the right means to express and explain what might be communicated in the cosmic language and the language of the beings and intelligences. Nimilon may therefore be regarded as a marvelous initiator into the mode of expression in all intellectual languages. The Kosminski symbol for this is a volcano in active eruption, devastating the country for miles around, while groups of peasants cling to their little homes. Denotes one who is born to face danger and to indulge in the undertakings of venturesome nature which yield little profit and entail much trouble. He is rather fixed in his ideas and may fail to fall in with the views of the majority. Neither will he attempt to escape the storm against him. It is a symbol of pertinacity. So basically, this is what I was talking about, speaking in tongues. Some people, they get out here and they channel the information, they turn it into language and explain it to people. This spirit intelligence is coming to make sure that this language that's coming from the intellectual realms can be explained to people in common language. So instead of it being an active volcano disruption devastating the country, you will be able to go and tell the people, hey, this volcano is kind of active. We might need to move on to the next place. Let's just go somewhere else. It's literally interpreting what you see in front of you, which some people, it's an active volcano. There's a lot of bad, negative energy. Hey, it's time to move on. Let's just, instead of clinging to your houses, like in the image, let's move on to the next thing. And maybe people will like it, and maybe people won't. But guess what? You and your household will be safe. If people want to cling to their houses when it's time to move on to the next place because there's an active volcano, meaning an active threat against your life, you might need to just leave them behind, because maybe that spirit intelligence that's telling people not to off themselves is not working. You know what I mean? And they've just decided to take whatever chance they can get. That's the energy that's coming in at the beginning of January. I can interpret that a billion different ways. I can see it. Like, I can see it. And so that's the energy that we're tying into that's going to end this cycle and start the next cycle. So I hope that makes sense, okay? All right, so the elements for Cancer. This is, again, taken from what's-the-name's book. These ones are. Some of them I couldn't find in his book. He didn't list them, but I found other ways of explaining them. But the Cancer ones were in the book, okay? So Esophil, this spirit intelligence sign is to be drawn in a silvery white color inside of a circle, and is a very beautiful ruler in the kingdom of the water element. To describe her beauty in words would give much difficulty even to a talented poet. Esophil has many servants known as water fairies or nymphs. Esophil knows many spiritual secrets in relation with operations of the element of water, and can give the spiritualite much information and reveal to him many practices. However, a spiritualite has to be very careful with Esophil, just the same as he has to take heed in respect to the following sovereign mistress called Amu, that he does not lose his head when working with them. Both are experts in binding men by their beauty and taking possession of them. If a genuine spiritualite wants it, Esophil will be pleased to place the beings subordinated to her at his disposal. Let's read Amu, and then I'll explain this. Amu, the spirit intelligence sign to be drawn in a silvery white color inside of a circle. This female ruler also possesses a great number of watery beings subordinated to her. If the spiritualite intends to keep up a connection with Amu, he will be instructed by her how to get fish and other water animals under his power. So, if the spiritualite busies himself in the material world with fishing or rearing fish or the like, he will get from Amu useful advice and instructions which will enable him to control completely everything that swims or creeps in the water. Also, Amu will place at the spiritualite's disposal subordinate beings who will contribute to the realization of his wishes. So, with these two elementals, Esophil and Amu, they're very beautiful. So, men who interact with these two elements are prone to fall to them, meaning to bind themselves to them, okay? We don't bind ourselves to these elementals. We ask them for help, okay? And so what Esophil and Amu can do is to help you get under control the water element. What did I say the water element was? It is literally electric fluid. So if you want to be able to bring those dreams, that's the electric fluid inside your brain, into reality, you need Esophil and Amu as elementals to help you do that. The example with Jesus and the fish is perfect. They had to pay taxes, okay? Everybody got to pay taxes. And they said, hey, how are we going to pay these taxes? Jesus said, go fish. What? They were fishermen. Telling a fisherman to go fish, that's basic common sense, okay? Because they were fishermen. What did they do? They went to fish, pulled the fish out, gold coins in the mouth of the fish. That was a miracle. This is the kind of stuff that they do, especially Amu with the fish, the actual fish. But this could be a person. People are fish too. We have lots of different. Humanity is a one-drop rule. If you have one drop of human energy, you are a human. However, does that take you or stop you from being a fish or whatever other element that you might be, animal, whatever? No, you still maintain those qualities. And because we have water in our bodies, that makes us pretty much very similar to fish. Very, very similar. So this could also be people just giving you money. The money coming from all kinds of different places. But just remember, these elementals are the ones who helped Jesus perform the miracle of the gold coins in the fish's mouth. That's the kind of energy you want to draw in to help you anchor in this Cancer dark moon energy. Also the full moon energy, but right now we're talking about bringing things in. Remember, dark moon is about creation. You have to bring it all in. Full moons are about removing blockages. Right now, we are bringing everything in. We're not talking about removing the blockages. First of all, we got to see what we're supposed to be bringing in, right? Then we'll talk about removing the blockages, okay? All right, so the saint affiliated with this is Saint Lucia. Now, if you've seen my other videos or you're in my group, how I handle the saints is, since we've already started working with these saints and we know that these saints are affiliated with this energy, we're going to work with the same saints, the same group of saints for quite a while so that we can really get to know their energy. Instead of going every time it's a new saint, that's a little bit excessive to me. So we're going to focus in on these energies. So Saint Lucia, the Holy Virgin, was a Christian from Campania, Italy, who in the year 301 was seized by Rexius Vicarius. He urged her to sacrifice to the idols and to disavow Christ. He not only failed to convince her, but she succeeded in winning him over to the faith of Christ. Again, Esophil and Amu. For this, he was greatly esteemed. He greatly esteemed Lucia and established her in a quiet dwelling place where she engaged in fasting and prayer. Establish someone is basically, I'm gonna pay for you, just go over here. And what did she do? Fast and pray. That's all she did. Okay. There soon came a time when Lucia tried to persuade Rexus from abandoning his office as vicarius to become with her a martyr for Christ. Rexus was persuaded and departed with her, leaving behind his wife, children, wealth, and every worldly and temporary glory. After being apprehended by certain pagans, both called upon Christ and confessed him as the true God before the impious governor. He in turn sentenced them to be beheaded, and in this way they were crowned with an eternal wreath of victory for having endured the contest of martyrdom. Also on this day, other holy martyrs were beheaded with them, including Saint Anatolius, Antonius, Lysis, Neas, Cernius, Diodorus, Dion, Apollonius, Epamus, Papanius, Catanius, Aranius, Papicus, Saturius, Victor, and another 9. That is 24 martyrs suffered with Saints Lucia and Saint Rexus. Listen, how did she convince all these people to say, hey, let's just... Now, they were looking for pagans. Like, listen, this is a warning. This is why I love the saints, because they have both sides. They have the human side and they have the supernatural side. This is a warning. Do not let someone convince you to do something that is out of alignment with your energy, okay? At the same time, she was taken care of. It's almost like the angel that was supposed to convince them not to commit this kind of suicide, because being martyred in some, especially in this case, is basically a death by suicide, like a death by cop. And so that would be considered a suicide. So that angel was not able to get to them to stop them from doing this nonsense, because it was unnecessary. They didn't have to go looking for pagans to kill them. They could have just stayed and did the good work. And so this is the lesson this is why I like the saints. There's a lesson and there's a message. The lesson we need to learn from this is don't unnecessarily sacrifice yourself. And the message is get everything that you want in life. All she wanted in life was to be able to pray and fast, and she found that, and it wasn't good enough. It wasn't like she committed a great enough sacrifice to the Creator, which is not true. It was a great enough sacrifice, but this is why you have to have Saturn in there to make sure that you don't go too far with it. You know what I mean? And proxonates to make sure you don't take yourself out. Because that Esophil and that Mu energy, man, is very, very powerful. So this should be a very good example of how these energies work together, okay? All right, so we are going to look at the timing. Now, I mentioned before that we go from full moon to full moon, but when we're looking at a cycle, we want to go from one point to one point. So since this is a dark moon, we want to look at what we were supposed to get from the previous cycle and what energy is. This is like the actual timing of the energy. We want to look at how the energy was timed to happen from the Cancer dark moon on July the 5th, 2024. And then we have the next one for the one that's moving forward. This tells us how this energy is going to flow. So this is, I'm going to also break this out as a separate segment. This is literally using our tree of life, which I have to still put a video out about that. You'll see it on my channel with the daylight astrology, where we discuss how to time the energy using visual pictures. Okay, that's what the tree of life is. And we use the rectified tarot spiral to do that, along with these timing techniques, which I'm going into details in other videos, how I put all this together, which you can find on my channel. So let's look at the specific time though. Okay, so from 7/3/2024 to 7/7/2024, that will be our birthday card, and that was the Three of Cups, and the Three of Cups is happiness and gratitude. So you can look back at your time from last year and see how this deals with your Cancer house or your life in general. All right, it could be one, or it could be the other, or it could be both. All right. Then we had the North Node, that was from 7/8/2024 to 8/13/2024, and that was 10 degrees of Aries, and that was the Fool, which is beginnings, start of a new journey. And then from 8/13/2024 to 9/18/2024. That was the moon energy, and that was a 3 of Cups, which was happiness and gratitude. Then we have Venus energy, which was from 9/18 to 10/24 of 2024, and that was 22 degrees of Cancer, and that was plateau, bored, and disconnection. The next placement we have was Mercury, and that was from 10/24 to 11/29 of 2024, and that was 5 degrees of Leo, and that's the 5 of Cups, which is insight, knowledge, sadness, and depression. Next we had the Sun card, which is 11/29 to 1/4 of 25, and that was 14 degrees of Cancer, and that was a 3 of Cups, which is happiness and gratitude. Then we have Jupiter, which was from 1/4/2024 to 2/9/2025. This would be fives. 1/4/25 to 2/9/25, and that was 9 degrees of Gemini, and that was the 8 of Wands, which is travel, movement, and communication. Next we have Mars, which was 2/9/25 to 3/17/25, and that's the 6 of Wands. Was 19 degrees of Taurus, and that's the 6 of Wands, which is victory, success, and good news. Then we have the Earth card, which is our part of fortune, and that was 3/17/25 to 4/22/25, and that was the devil. I will point out during this time period, that's when we had Easter, which is just unbelievable. And that's temptation, that's the devil, which is temptation, violence, bondage to matter, lust, lord of the gates of matter. Then we had Saturn, which is 4/22/25 to 5/28/25, which is 19 degrees of Pisces, and that's the 9 of Coins, which is success, great love, and rewards. So that's where we are right now. We supposed to have gotten our success, great love, and rewards by the 28th of the month, and we are past the 28th of the month, and I don't know about you, but I didn't get it. So now we're going into South Node energy, which is from 5/28/25 to 7/3/25, and that's 10 degrees of Libra, which is a 3 of Swords in reverse, and in reverse is insult, fraud, and painful experience, and in upright is internal liberation and self-deletion. So I read the South Node energy in reverse because it is the energy that is going out, and again, since we're starting with it's the energy, and this energy is overlapping with the next energy. So in this point video, I want to make one point. From 4/22/25 to 5/28/25, which is right after Easter, until a few days ago, we were supposed to receive our success, great love, and rewards. I personally did not receive that. Period. And so what I am saying is I'm going back to the Creator and saying, hey, Saturn did not do his job. Now, mind you, this is also the time period where Saturn moved from the last degree of Pisces into Aries. So this literally correlates with the actual astrology of what is going on. So when a planet moves into its new house, it is supposed to give you the rewards that you earned from the previous cycle. And you're always going to earn rewards. There's no like, oh, I don't know if I deserve. No. You're always going to earn rewards if you're doing, what is right for you, what you feel in your heart and your soul is right for you. And so me, I know I was doing what was right for me. I didn't get this. I didn't get my 9 of Coins. I didn't get the peace. I didn't get the success. I didn't get the great love. I didn't get no rewards, actually. And I have a problem with that. And because I also have Saturn in my first house, Saturn is extra hard on me. I feel every Saturn movement. And so if you feel like in this last cycle you didn't get what you're supposed to do, you need to go to the Creator. You need to pray and say, hey, I was supposed to get ... It didn't show up. This is the benefit of associating this with an actual picture. Like, look at the 9 of Coins card. It is a woman who is surrounded by her money, out in nature, happy. If you in the last 36 days was not surrounded by your money, happy, out in nature, you got to take it up with the Creator and say, hey, I need a judgment right now because something didn't happen the way it's supposed to. I will also say about this whole cycle is it's deadly accurate because 9/18, 8/13 and 9/18 was basically the cycle. I mean, it included the start of the Lunar New Year, which started on 9/18. Amazing. Like this is the most accurate thing. I haven't done it. This is my first time I do these live. This is my first time going through this. It's the most accurate thing that I've seen as far as my own personal energy. The only thing I have a problem with is me personally, whenever I'm supposed to receive coins energy, the coins never show up. They always twos and fuse me. So this is, I mean, I've kept digging at this because no, I know it's not supposed to be twos and fuse. Okay, don't get out here. Even with my spirit intelligences, I went back through my whole year of all the spirit intelligence I work with. Every single spirit intelligence that had to do with anything other than coins, I got it. Anything related to coins, I didn't get it. And so I am demanding the Creator evaluate me and see if I've been through the fire. Am I like Joshua, who's been through the fire, or am I like Satan, who's testifying against these different spirit intelligence falsely? Like, judge, because obviously something is wrong. Like this is another reason to check this energy is because this is the way the energy flows. If you don't notice this pattern in your life, you need to say, whoa, hold up, Creator, hey, I'm asking for you to come in and give me a judgment because something's not right. Okay, you have to do that as a living person. Right. All right, so let's look at the cycle that's starting on the 23rd. So on the 23rd to the 27th of 2025, that is 4 degrees of Cancer. That's where we're having our new moon at. That's the birthday sign. And that's the 2 of Cups, which is love, friendship, connection. So that's right before the 4th of July, okay? Then we go into our North Node energy, which is from 628 to 83, and that's 21 degrees of Pisces, and that's the World card, which is culmination, perfection, the end or beginning of a cycle, a great dance of time, okay? Then we have the moon at 4 degrees of Cancer, and that's from 8/3 to 9/8 of 25, and in that time we'll actually be doing a fast. That's the same thing last time. We were doing a fast during that time. And that's the 2 of Cups, which is love, friendship, connection. Then we have Venus from 9/8 to 10/14, and that's at 19 degrees of Taurus, and that's the 7 of Wands, which is victory, hope, and defense. Then we have Mercury from 10/14 to 11/19 of 2025, and that's the 4 of Cups, which is plateau, bored, and disconnection. I think it's weird that Mercury is always in a place where it's like, oh, this is boring, it's not working, oh, you made it up, blah, blah, blah. Same thing with the last one. Really interesting. Next we have the Sun, which is at 11, which is from 11/19 of 2025 to 12/25/25, which is Christmas. And that's at 4 degrees of Cancer, which is the 2 of Cups, love, friendship, connection. Okay, then we have a double dose of this. Jupiter is at 3 degrees of Cancer, and another dose of the 2 of Cups, love, friendship, connection. Then we have Mars, which is at 4 degrees of Virgo. That's from 1:30 to 3/7, and that's the 8 of Cups, which is new future, walking away, disillusion. Then we have the Earth, which is from 3/7 to 4/12 of 2026, and that's the Chariot, which is triumph, victory, and overcoming obstacles. Then we have Saturn from 4/12/2026 to 5/18/2026, and that's 1 degree of Aries, and that's the 2 of Wands, which is outside influence, plans and travel, and new ideas. And this is either our Jezebel card, right? Because Jezebel was sitting in the window, basically, propositioning the new king of Judah to basically take her as a concubine, or this is Elijah, who was looking out over all he had done and considering whether it was good or it was bad or why it happened. So you're either going to be in the Jezebel energy or the Elijah energy with the 2 of Wands, okay? And then the last one, the South Node, that's from 5/18/26 to 6/23/26, and that's 21 degrees of Virgo, which is the 10 of Cups in reverse, and that's love, satisfaction, and harmony. In upright, or in reverse, it's feeling neglected, poor timing, and shattered dreams. And so these energies overlap. So when we do the Cancer dark moon next year, we'll see what it's going to overlap with. But right now, this energy, the Four of Cups, comes in on the 23rd of this month, but it's overlapped with this South Node energy, which goes all the way till the 3rd of July. And so the Three of Swords, like I mentioned previously, is a take yourself out card. And we have the angel from the start of the cycle that's going to help people not to do this. So just understand, if you're feeling a lot of pressure to remove yourself from this planet, it is because that's the energy that's the negative timeline is using to try to take you out. But you have an angel that was set up all the way back in January to make sure that you don't do that. I'm very familiar with this I have this Three of Swords I had this for a whole like 10 years. This time period, every single year, I'd be like, I have had enough. I am tired of this. I just can't take it anymore. Every single year. And now that I can see the whole cycle, I can see that's a play on the planet. That's the way the energy comes in. We have to understand, we were not sitting here without help. We literally have an angel literally here to help us not do that. And if people don't work with these different spirit intelligences, they go against them, then they're prone to fall into this very energy. So keep an eye on your family and friends, especially the ones who are totally outside of understanding how the energy works, because they're the ones who are going to be most prone to taking themselves out at this time. All right, so as I mentioned, I have a little, I call it a spiritual deposit slip, because this is not one that you burn. And of course, a withdrawal slip, you would burn that, because when you give a withdrawal slip to somebody, they take it. So when you burn it, you're signifying that the Creator has taken it. However, you're bringing things in this time. The dark moon is about bringing stuff in. So we use a deposit slip to deposit this energy within our energy field, okay? So it looks like this. Of course, if you want it, again, over on the lunar group page, you can download it and use it as you would like. But this is where you would write your I am statement. You could also write your request to the different entities. And I have 2 copies, because you always want to keep 1 copy with the rest of your records. And then if you want to actually post it up somewhere, then you can actually post it up. So that's why there's 2, okay? So I know this was a long video, and I covered a lot of different information. So if you have any questions, you could put them underneath the video here, or you have something you want to ask me, or you want some of the products or whatever I discussed, you need some of the information, you're trying to figure out where to start, send me an email. If I don't respond to you, comment here and say, oh, I sent you an email, so that I can look, because I got a billion email addresses and sometimes I lose track of time, okay? Just being completely honest about that. So thank you so much, of course, for joining us. I'm not sure if I'm going to make the other 2 like this, but for sure, this was really, really important. I am going back to making these for these cycles. Right now, we're just focusing on the Cancer, Leo, and Virgo cycle, but eventually we're going to come back and do the other cycles too. It's just a matter of getting in the flow of the energy and making sure that I'm doing these presentations with the most integrity that I have to offer you. So if you like this video, you have people who you think would like it, please feel free to share, comment, subscribe, unsubscribe, unlike, unshare, whatever, okay? This is about setting the tone and the pace for how the energy is actually flowing, and not letting our enemies set our feast days. So shalom, peace and blessings, and we'll see you in the next video.